And that sound means the start of another missile for the masses. This is the Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pod, and I'm your host, Gary, and with me is Casey.
From Podcast from the Pit. How's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you. And thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely. It's just worked out that I haven't recorded since the last time we recorded. Had a good time. I wanted to bring you back because this missile is a list show. And when I remember in the early days of somebody's podcast, they did a lot of list shows. So when I think list show, I think of podcast from the pit.
We like our list. And actually, as we're recording now, tomorrow morning we are getting together and making a list show.
Hey, just need Casey Kasem to count them down.
Yeah.
So,
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're fun to do. I don't do enough of them. So yeah, this worked out. And another unique thing, if you read the title to this podcast, it's not about a G.I. Joe toy, playset, vehicle, or even a trailer. We're talking about another military and adventure themed toy line, Delta 17 War in the Shadows. Now, Casey, you seem to get a few figures early on.
Yeah, I got all but two, like a month or maybe 2 months before they were released. So yeah, I love these figures.
So Casey has the In-Strides track. He's had them in hand a little bit longer than myself. When I got them as soon as they were released. I took advantage of the 10% offer code.
That's a good
I bought
deal.
and it was like getting a free figure and a half.
Mm-hmm.
I bought the full set. I bought of the army builders. I bought 2 of each because I'm supposed to be watching my money. And so I was able to, over the course of like a couple weeks, every couple of days, I opened a new one and I played with it. So how did you do it, Casey? Did you rip them open all at once or?
Well, all the ones I got, I'm like, well, I think I'll hold on to them until I get them, But no, I got right into them. They just look so fun. And I got that 10-year-old Casey opening up his Joe's feeling when I was doing it. And just, yeah, I think they're amazing. I got right into them.
Yeah, no. So which one was your first one you opened up? Which one were you most excited or most curious to try? Do you remember?
I think the Thunder Battalion was the first one I opened up just because it looks so cool. And the whole time when when I got it, I was thinking how great this would go with call sign Lombo. With
Yeah. Yeah, and
and
it seems like a lot of the same hands are doing all of these O-ring retro lines in some shape or form.
mhm,
Call sign Longbow, I believe, is Grindstone Toys.
I think so.
Yeah, and Delta 17 is by 5x5 Toys, and the other, we also have coming out Operation Recall. Heavy Armor Toys has their In the Navy figures. They also have some stuff already released. Oh gosh, I backed them on the Kickstarter, the Ninja figures.
Yeah,
I can't.
something of the Hidden Force. I
Legends of
backed
the
them
Hidden
too.
Force. Yes.
There we go. I don't know
So
why I can't remember that. They look fantastic, but I don't know why I can never remember that name.
yeah, and it's funny too because we're a small community as a Joe community, and I think every single one was represented last year at Joe Fest, and so it's a small community. Everybody's talking to each other.
Mhm.
There's a lot of collaboration, which I think is really bringing the best out of everyone.
Yeah, definitely.
'Cause, yeah, it's not really about competition. It's about uh, like healthy respect for each other's
Mhm.
work. So, um, you know, I think we all have to agree that O-ring action figures is a niche market in this day and age. It's not mass market like I would say 6-inch action figures are now.
Okay.
The de rigueur. Um, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, new O-ring figures, a new line of O-ring figures, something other than what Hasbro offered.
Right.
And Casey, did you get any of the retro GI Joes O-rings?
I did. I got, I believe all of them. I love O rings. It's my favorite. If I could only have one kind of toy, it would be an O ring, 3 3/4.
Says the man with a flag behind him, and another man with another flag behind him. Yeah, yeah, you know, when you invest heavily in the toys, with the vehicles and play sets, it really becomes a no-brainer, for 3 3/4 or even 4-inch action figures.
Hmm.
And, yeah, so I'm really excited by all this resurgence. One thing I noticed, where I was leading on before is that these did feel much more 1980s GI Joe than the retro O-ring GI Joes.
Oh, definitely.
So, yeah, the plastic's a little more firmer. It's definitely, I would say, not kid safe. The plastics are harder, so it's not the same, standards for, mass market. So, but it's more along the lines of what we got in 1985, 1986.
Yeah.
So, when kids were allowed to be kids and, you'll poke your eye out with that and choke on that Boba Fett missile.
You take the risks.
Yeah, somehow we survived, and we survived. All right. So, yes. So, anybody listening to this podcast, obviously, this is not a visual medium. So, if you would like to check out what Casey and I are about to talk about, I will try to describe the figures, and Casey do the same if I miss some descriptors. But these are all on delta17toys.com. I'll put the link in the description. And this way, if you're curious to what they look like, you can visit their website and see for yourself. Um, I bought these, Casey got them and bought them.
Hmm.
So this is not a paid podcast. This is not sponsored by them. All the opinions are formed based on, at least for me, spending all of my hard earned money. And Casey, I don't, Casey's nobody's sponsored on this podcast to talk about this. I just thought it was something interesting to talk about because it's new and it's kind of exciting.
Right. And trust me, nobody's paying me for anything.
All right. Yeah, we just got done talking about subscriptions and stuff. So, all right. So in essence, there's 11 different characters in the Delta 17 War in the Shadows line. There's kind of a half difference between Delta Squad A and B. It's a Caucasian and African American soldier. So I'm treating them as the same character. That is one of the 3 troop builders. The other troop builders being the Thunder Battalion and the Okami. These 11 figures belong to 3 factions. We have Delta 17, the good guys, and then we have their opponents, Retrograd, essentially ex-Soviet Russian bad guys or opposition. And then you have the Dark Shadows, which is like a semi-neutral ninja force. You know, each each group has their own interests and their own values. This is getting in on the ground floor. The lore isn't set in stone, so the imagination is the playground for all of these toys. So we're starting off with 11. It's a top 11 list. We're going to start at 11 and work our way to our favorite figure of the Delta 17 line. And Casey, take it away with your number 11.
Okay. My number 11 is the Delta Squad. Both A and B, they're pretty much the same. Uh, and I just want to start by saying I don't dislike any of these figures. But if I have to do a list, and it was hard to do, from worst to best, they would be my number 11. And I like the concept of them to where they're not always with Delta 17. They're in their own units, but they're called up when they need to be. I like that. I think that's a cool idea. I just wish maybe the color of their uniforms is just a little bit different because I think the two colors that they use are so similar that it just looks like the whole thing's green.
Yeah, so I'll jump on that. Yeah, the I like to say the Delta Squad and B. If anybody's familiar with 1986's sci-fi, you kind of got that helmet shape and
Mhm.
you have the mask, kind of a little bit like RoboCop. I'm not going to disagree with you there. They're all good figures, but one of them for each of us has to be last.
Right.
And my number 11 is the Dark Shadows Jaguar. He is another like you, Casey, with the Delta Squad. He to me comes off dark. He's two colors. He's dark gray with black highlights. I mean, he does have the pop of red on his
Mhm.
hip, and for the night vision goggles, that kind of the new generation night vision optics. It makes him look a lot like Firefly from 1984. He doesn't, but he's a member of the Ninja Clan. He's a sniper. His weapons peg into his backpack. I didn't find the sniper rifle fitting very well. It would be like he wouldn't be able to look up at the sky because the barrel of the gun would dig into the ground, and it looks stupid with the barrel pointing in the sky. Or his ninja weapons, which are like kind of like a cop's baton, with the little
Mhm.
handle, the K bar. I think that's what it is. Wasn't really impressed with that. I mean, he's a cool figure in a way, but it just is like he's the least exciting to me. And especially as a named character, to me he comes out more like a troop builder.
I can see that.
But yeah, so that's my number 11. Uh Now Casey, take us to number 10.
All right, this is probably not going to be a popular pick because I hear a lot of people say he's their favorite, but I'm gonna go with Leonidas as my number 10.
So, what puts Leonidas in the number 10 for you?
All right, I like his story. I thought that was pretty cool, and I like how the blue pops. It stands out, but I can't get on board with the shorts. I don't know what that is. It's I can't do it. He's a cool character, and hopefully, if they have a V2, he'll have some pants on. But I mean, he's cool. Don't get me wrong. But if I have to go in order, he's number 10. He's
Wow.
got great accessories too.
Casey coming in hot. So, Casey, you might find this interesting. My number 10
Uh
is the
huh.
Delta Squad. Again, like you said, they're very generic, which is kind of the point.
Right.
They will blend well as a unit. I like their accessories. I actually like the way the accessories peg in together. I
Yeah,
like
that's nice.
the I like the fact that the bazooka rounds actually go in. The only thing missing from them was, remember when GI Joe did that finger flick technology where you'd pop the round in and like Topside or Crimson Guard Immortal, and then you'd flick your finger and then it would pop out.
Yeah.
It just needs that. It really does, because otherwise it just drops in, and then how are you going to launch it out?
Yeah.
Um, you know, and then the other thing was on the one I opened up, his gas mask, I never got to fit right.
Hmm.
But it is a cool figure, but like you, it's near the bottom of the list because the other figures I just think are thus that much more interesting.
Right. I mean, the list is so strong, something's got to be at the bottom.
Yeah. Well, you probably broke many people's hearts with Leonidas as your number 10. So what's your number 9?
Surprisingly, it's another troop builder, would be the Okami. I'm a big troop builder guy. I love troop builders, and I really don't have negatives on these. I was just going by what really, what I really loved about the line. I love the fact they're robots. I think that's cool and not cyborgs. I think the color scheme's really cool. I think red and black is awesome, and the weapons are good. It's just, and I think if I remember correctly, they will also you can peg in V1 bat accessories into their arms. So I think that's pretty cool.
Oh man. Yeah, that might be interesting. My V1 bats are across the room from me, or else I would test that theory right now. But yeah, okay.
Like I said,
I'm,
I'm
I'm
not
gonna I'm gonna
negative
have to say,
for them.
Casey, as we're getting here, um, I think that's one you'll find that I'm not going to be too in tune with you on, because my number 9 is Leonidas.
Hey,
And to me, it's not so much about the shorts. It's not the tattoos on his bare arms and his bare leg. Um, he's he looks a little bit too much like, and I like to call it, and it's like, it's take no offense to anybody that has a beard. But it's just like it's too sculpted. It is too much like a he looks too clean for me to be a soldier. I know that there are guys that pride themselves on their appearance, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think a guy that's in the no, for lack of a better term, in the shit, this guy just looks too clean. The blue pops. It is bright. It is, his backwards hat. He's got the headset with the microphone like a gamer. The other thing too is, so he's the one guy in the line that gets a pet.
right.
His pet's a puppy. It's a German Shepherd puppy. Who in their right mind puts a puppy in the front lines? And but the other thing too, and I like the fact that the puppy and the puppy's dog bowl peg onto the
Hmm.
backpack. But here's the thing, the one other thing, as a dog, the puppy's just sitting there.
Yeah.
He's not on his paws. He's not like, Timber or Order or Junkyard. He's kind of like, you know, he's got the one floppy ear still, and it's cute. I don't need him with Leonidas. And then the other thing is that backpack is so sculpted for Leonidas's dog, which, gosh, I should have written that down. Uh, it's just like, so he doesn't even need his backpack. So while he's a good, unique character, and he pops he needs different gear, and I
Right.
could do without the dog.
Well, I heard that when they get around to a version 2, the dog will be bigger. He's going to grow with them.
All right, so maybe he'll get some gray in his beard too,
Like
and
me.
pants.
Yeah. He's got to have pants. And those are just like mine are just little nitpicks.
But like you said, we gotta talk about why these are where they are on our list.
Yep.
Um, all right, so take us away to number 8, Casey.
Okay. My number 8 is Jaguar for a lot of the same reasons you had him low on your list. I think I like him maybe 1, 2 spots higher than you did, but I love what I wrote down. Uh, I think he looks great. I love the sniper rifle. The goggles are cool. I like, reading on him. I like that he can talk, but he chooses not to. I do like that.
Yeah, that's that's interesting to note. It's like he can say, "Watch out."
Yeah. But I heard that the comic hopefully will be available at Joe Fest, the first issue.
Yeah, that'd be cool to pick up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. All right. My number 8 is Shepherd.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I like his sculpt. I really enjoy his sculpt. The chest is good with the combat tactical vest with the gear on it. He's got good gear. He's got a good backpack. The machine gun, the carbon rifle that goes into the clips does fairly well. He's got a, good waist. His legs, I like them. They're nice and chunky. He's got those shotgun shells or 40 millimeter shells
Mm.
molded in on his right thigh, and he's got his pouches and his holster on his left thigh. And then he's got, the knee pads. A lot of these have knee pads. So overall, he's got a scarf around his neck and it's all molded really well. He's got a simple backpack, yet effective. And he's got a nice like M4, M16 with a, compound scope. And but where he fails for me and why he goes a little bit low on this list is he has an accessory helmet with the peg in night vision goggles that are flipped up. And if you take that off his head, the head looks wonky. The head's completely covered in a balaclava with goggles all molded in. The balaclava or the scarf has this red, skull face image on it, like something that my friends at Robert Barron's Inc. would sell. But he's a good guy. He's supposedly the leader of Delta 17. And I know what aesthetic they were going for it. It does look mean, it does look intimidating, but it looks like this should be a villain, not a hero. And to me, because and I like the fact that he's also an African American leader, but the face just betrays that thing. So it's like I don't see him as the leader of the good guys. I see him as somebody that really should be on the other side. I mean, I get what they were trying for, but it just doesn't work for me.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah.
That's my hot take, Casey.
It was a hot one.
So number 7.
Okay, so my number 7 is Shadow Dragon. I think he's really cool. He looks amazing. I don't have, at the where we're at in the list, I don't have negatives. I love that he's mysterious and that his weapons are really cool. I'm excited to learn more about him. With the comics coming and all that, I think they've got so much they can do with him, and then he'll probably rocket up my list. I could see him being like a Cobra Commander type from the comics, not the cartoon.
Yeah, no, I'm going to say I am shocked on that one. But my number 7. So now we're into a group that's going to be very tight. So my lowest scale was pretty easy to get. Okay, this one's number 11, 10. Then I'm going to get into these middle 4 or these middle 3, and it was like, ooh, which one really? Where do they go? So these could change any different day.
Right.
My number 7 is the Retrograd Thunder Battalion. It's a very good troop builder. It's black with gray straps for the backpack, molded on. It's got a wonderful rubber utility belt that comes backwards in the package. Delta 17 did a Facebook post. I'll talk a little bit more about that on some other figures. He's wearing a gray balaclava, with his eyes and his mouth showing, a small blue black backpack. He's got an AK derived automatic rifle, and he's got a riot helmet with an optional face shield. So one is a, a, a visor with no plastic, so you can see his eyes through. You pretend that it's clear, and then you have another one with a red lens that's painted on. I really prefer the red lens, and my only real thing I didn't like about this figure, and it's a strong figure, is I don't really like the riot helmet. It's just a little too big overall, even though it's probably correct for what the real world is for helmets.
But he looks good without it too. So I wear that thing up, and he looks good with the balaclava.
Yeah, no, he does. So you don't display it with that. Yeah, that's an easy solution. But again, like I said, my next group of three are really tight, so that I could,
Right.
he could jump up to number five in a on a cold and windy day or something. But all right, Casey six.
Is Preacher. I like Preacher, and actually, one of the cool things about him, he's on a little bigger buck. So I like this that they're not all the same size. I think that's a great idea. I think him and Rooster are on like 4-inch bucks, maybe. I don't know, but I know they are bigger. I love his gear. His backstory is really good.
Yep.
About I thought that was awesome. And looking down the line, maybe they'll do comics on these backstories and really dive deep into them. Like do one each or something because they've got a lot to work with. His sniper rifle, I think's awesome. It just looks cool. The black with the camo.
Yep.
I mean, he could be higher. He could be. It's like you said, except for like the top two. These next ones could be in any order.
Y- Yeah, and I'm going to just jump right in and talk about Preacher too, because he is also my number six. Which,
Nice.
just to remind everybody listening in, that's dead center of the top 11. And yeah, he is definitely, you got that the GI Joe stalker vibes. So, African American, comes out of Chicago, Illinois. He's one of the younger members at age 27. He's a corporal. Like you said, he's got that black shirt with the brown accents, which are also on his legs, camo pants, combat boots. And, things that kept him going from higher on my list was his guns don't really sit well in his backpack. I couldn't get him to sit well. I don't know about you.
I got the sniper rifle in his hand, but
Yeah, and it's a
I think I
yummy sniper rifle. I'll give
yeah.
you that. I like the fact that the other thing too is he's called the marksman of the group. He's not a sniper. He's called a marksman, which is nice. It's a nice appellation, but he's really a sniper.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, he's a badass character. He looks really good. He's got good vibes. But he's just dead center of my list, which will bring us to number five, Casey.
Okay. My number 5 is Kestrel. I think
I'm jumping in
she
right now. She's my number five too.
I love the fact that she's from Poland because that really brings the international story that they're trying to, say everybody's grouped together. I think everybody else is from the United States, right? From Delta 17.
I believe so. Yes.
So I really like the fact that she's from Poland. So and also in her backstory, she's had some dealings with Retrograd, and the story seems so cool. She was in the last two that I bought, uh, not because I didn't want her the first time, but he just didn't have her to send to me. And she was worth the wait. I really like her. I love her beret. I think she's a beautiful figure. They can do a lot with her, I think.
Yeah. I think she's got those Lady J vibes. But she has a tactical vest over her chest, keep her modest. Her gear of, like a carbon rifle with with a grenade launcher. Almost want to say that it might really belong to Shepard because of his leg. Other than that, she has a little radio on the front of her right shoulder, and she has the green backpack with a little walkie-talkie molded in, and the little pegs for her to put her combat knife in. You got the nice olive drab with the fatigues with the like a brighter green the accents for the vest and her leg straps and her holster. And she looks like a competent modern military woman. And one thing that I liked is the paint apps for her lips. They gave her like a little bit smirk, like in her card art.
Yeah.
But the one thing that for me that hurt her versus some of the other ones is like really she could be kitted out with more stuff. She could have more stuff with it. But yeah, but like she's solid. She's a very solid character, very solid figure.
And only 25 years old. Youngest, I think she's the youngest on there.
Yeah, I think you're right. All right, we're getting the nitty-gritty. Number 4.
Death Sparrow. I like
Oh,
Death Sparrow a lot. She I mean she just looks, she's a pretty figure, but she looks tough. It reminds me of like a James Bond villain. I can just hear her talking, like in those 80s, early 90s James Bond movies, which I'm a big fan of. So she looks great. And the fact that she's in charge of all the Thunder Battalion, which are all former Spetsnaz, you just know she's a tough character.
yeah, no, yeah, she's a little bit higher up, obviously, because she's not my number 4. Number 4 for me is Rooster. These top my next 3 again are just they're all tight. Um, so Rooster is you take 1988's Hit and Run and you smash him with 1984 Spirit, and you get the Native American of the team. He's got a mohawk. He's, again, the green camo all over head to toe. Well, head to mid thigh when his combat boots take over. Carbon rifle. He's got a backpack that becomes 2 backpacks, a gear and a radio set with antenna, which is a separate piece. They give you an extra one in the package, a handset, which can be taken off, expected to be lost like 1984 Firefly's mic,
Yeah.
and his cell phone. He's got a nice black combat tactical vest. He's got pockets on his shoulders. He just looks like a real badass insertion, frontline guy. I just really he was one of those figures that he's one of the earlier figures for me to pull out of the package.
Oh yeah.
So number 3.
Rooster. And for a lot of stuff that you just said, I mean, he just looks incredible. I did get the hit and run feel off of him with the little mixture of Spirit and Airborne. Don't forget Airborne. And uh, just the camo app. I think it looks amazing. Sometimes I feel like some toy companies have trouble getting the camo to look right, but they did not. He looks amazing. And that the face paint and all that just matches with the camo. Yeah, he's a great figure. His accessories are great. It's can't wait to see, I want to read about these guys now, and I think he's going to be really cool.
Yeah, no, yeah, he is. And my number 3 is the Okami robot ninjas. I think the easiest way to compare them to anybody listening here is imagine the blue ninjas from the recent Real American Hero comics from IDW and Skybound. And whether or not you're a fan of those, that's what the
I am.
Okami are. Uh, I know a few listeners that are not a big fan of blue ninjas.
Yep.
And but yeah, I like the interchangeable hands. I like the weapons, the red popping off the black, off the gray. It is just a wonderful dark-ish color palette. and it's unique enough and it has enough play features for me to be a really strong figure for this line and something that in at another time I would probably love to have like 5 or 6 of them because it would look really good just going at it or something. It's just a fun it's just a for me it's just a fun figure to play and pose and kid out in different ways, to do battle against Retrograd and the Delta 17 force, depending on what their or where their interests lay.
Yeah, my understanding, and I could be wrong, is that the Dark Shadows is ran by Shadow Dragon, and he
Correct.
employs Retrograd. They're mercenaries that work for him. That's my understanding, but I could be wrong.
We'll just have to read the comic book and find out.
It would be neat to have the 3-way, we're friends today, we fight tomorrow kind of thing.
And that has been done in many stories, not just G.I.
Hmm.
Joe. I think the
Yeah.
easiest one in pop culture is Star Trek with the Klingon Empire, the Romulan Empire, and the Federation
Hmm.
is a classic example of that. And that's, and I'm sure there's other literary works because, I'm such a pop culture junkie that the first thing I go to is Star Trek.
I love Star Trek.
Uh,
It's my number
we're going
my
to go
number
off
2.
on a tangent. Please get us back on rails.
All right. Thunder Battalion. I love troop builders. I think this is the troop builder to have. I could see myself, honestly, at Joe Fest picking up another 5 or 6 of these if, things work out for me and I get to go down with, you know, a decent
Cash.
amount of cash. I could see myself picking up some more, definitely. I love troop builders. I'll probably try to pick up a couple more of the Okami as well because I only have the one right now. I love these, and if and when Call Sign Lombo comes out, it, I know they're just getting stuff fixed right, but it seems like forever. uh, these Delta 17s and Call Sign Lombo are going to mesh so well together. Then, the Operation Recall, just all these O-Ring toy lines are just, I'm so happy that they're all going to be out. And it's a great time to be an O-Ring fan. And don't forget, Super 7 is going to be doing G.I. Joe.
Yeah, no, haven't forgotten that. They did have that little bit of a leak a while back as to 4 of the original figures that they're going to be doing. I think I don't have the list in front of me, but I remember the one was the barbarian essentially from the first G.I. Joe miniseries that was trapped with Duke. So yeah, no, I mean that's awesome, to get more characters in the scale that play well. The one thing I do like about the Thunder Battalion or Retrograd in and of itself is they can be in addition to the October Guard.
Mm-hmm.
So we can have more October Guard type missions, which brings me to my number 2, Death Sparrow. Death Sparrow, the femme fatale, blonde hair. She has that black, I'm not sure what they call that cover. But she has that the the black cover, the black uniform with the brown leather accents. Very, very Soviet, very Eastern European. She reminds me of Olga from issue 66 of G.I. Joe. The the oh gosh, she was in the Gulag that was
Yeah.
housing Stalker, Quick Kick, and Snow Job. She has that tough, Eastern European, Soviet era vibe. And because of that, it just elicits that emotion that she's a bad girl, and she's got that bright red lipstick. The low cut uniform, it's unbuttoned to almost non kid friendly levels. Uh, It is. It's a very sexy figure. Um, can go well with, again, the October Guard. Oh yeah, and she also has that red star on her cap.
Mhm. Yeah.
She's got that red star on her cap. I like the yellow. I mean, just the paint apps, and she's got the patch on her shoulder. This The accessories are rather simple. She has the drum magazine on her, you know, Russian AK and, simple brown backpack, which if you don't pay attention to the pockets, it's very easy to put upside down. Uh, but I have some of the convention exclusive from the modern era, the motorcycle and the little helicopter for the October Guard.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
I picked those up, and she'll look really good in the motorcycle and sidecar. So actually, after we finish wrapping up, I'm going to grab it and I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to put it up near my Camp Jellystone display because yeah, she's good. She's really good.
Yeah, oh,
She's really
yeah. Uh, yeah, the top of this list is, I mean, it could go in almost any order.
Oh, well, yeah, but, before we get to our number 1, I just wanna mention again about there was a Facebook post on Delta 17 about some potential quality issues that one may occur when they open up the figures out of the package. Things like the arms weren't oriented right after assembly and stuff, and they talk about how they're gonna take care of. They're also talking about the legs not going fully up. So, like, if you're sitting it in a vehicle or something, you might find that one of the legs doesn't go all the way up into the 90-degree position at the hip joint. So their suggested fix was to flip the T crotch or the T bar around by disassembling the figure and reassembling it. And they're right, it only takes a couple minutes to do. And I did have problems with my figures with their
Hmm.
legs. So, and the first figure I opened up was Death Sparrow, and she had that issue. So I want to share what I did. I did the initial flip of the T-bar, and then what I ended up having to do was I had to take an X-Acto knife, and I found that basically what it is on basically all of these figures, the top of the legs are just molded a little too thick. So they're
Hmm.
coming into contact with the hook portion of the T-hook. So I shaved a little bit, not a lot, off by where it was hitting, which is pretty much hidden in the shadows of the waist piece. And I also took a Dremel and I slowly shaved away the T bar a little bit just to get the legs to move up and down. She was by far the worst out of all of the figures,
Hmm.
but she wasn't the only one I did it to because when we get to my number 1, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, there is a post on Facebook by Delta 17. You can look them up on Facebook as well as their website. And in their recent posts, they do have a little video going over something that was kind of an oversight in the production, which they do acknowledge that they are going moving forward. They're going to fix, which shows to me that they do care about their product. And it is just something to know about this first wave of figures, which to me, I get it. And I just moved ahead and I just said, hey, you know what? I'm going to make it work.
Yeah. You ready for my one?
Well, there's only one left for you.
Shepherd. Pretty much. I mean, the thing you dislike the most about him, I love about him. I love that skull mask. I think it's awesome. I think he's kitted out great. He looks like the rough type of leader you would want for a tier one group, in my opinion. He was the last figure I opened because him and Kestrel were the two I didn't get the first round. But then I ordered them and I got them, and I thought no figure was going to beat Thunder Battalion for me. And I'm telling you, it's like 1A, 1B, honestly. But I love Shepard. I think he's great. All the night vision goggles. You only see that really on 6-inch figures. Now we got a really cool one on a 3 3/4. It shows not everything has to take up a lot of space.
No, no. Like I said, I like the mold. I just didn't, like you said, we just differ on
Yeah.
opinions, which makes list shows fun.
Yep.
Um, and I guess my number one is, and this one was by a far margin. He did have the same issue with the T hook, and I had to shave the top of the thigh. Was Shadow Dragon. I loved the mold. I love the sculpt. It is imagine it's like a mashup of a samurai with Tron, with a robot. Overall, the gray and the red. I mean, overall, the Dark Shadows color palette is one of the pops, and it's a very strong palette. You can't go wrong. And I love his submachine gun. I love his two swords that go down onto the back piece. I love the detachable soft good cape with the
Yeah, the
little
cape's
wire on the
awesome.
bottom,
Yes.
and it comes off. So if you don't want the cape,
Mhm.
take it off. It pegs off. You take off the back shoulder piece, and it comes right off, and you can put it back on again. It has a little wire to sculpt it. And but by far, like this one is like I'm just so happy to play with it and manipulate it, and you know he looks so mysterious, and he's just so much fun to play with. You don't, like you said, you don't know what's going on with him, and I can't wait to see any media representation of
Mhm.
fleshing out his story. So it's great right now being on the ground floor, and he can be anything.
Yeah, I definitely want some more of his backstory.
Yeah,
'Cause in my head, I don't know how he's supposed to sound.
and that's just like I said. But again, we don't know how any of these sound.
Right.
I mean, do you have anything to add about this line, Casey, that you'd like to say?
For the first wave of the modern toys, I think it's a home run. There Like I said, there's no figure I do not like. If we just went through the list, and I think the green shirts are the weakest out of all of them, and they're still good. I can't wait till they get the helicopter. They're working on that now.
Yeah, we
It's
should mention it's a Hind D
Yeah,
helicopter from Russia.
yeah,
Yeah, and they're starting the tooling phase, and they're trying to figure out the modeling, and just that alone, like, I don't care who you are,
yeah,
I think any 3 3/4, 4-inch fan is gonna wanna own that.
yeah. It's gonna be amazing, and I'm excited for. And we just got these, so we should be enjoying it. But I'm looking forward to a wave two. I love these figures so much. I just Steve is very creative, and I think he's just gonna. Wave one's awesome, but I think he starts doing a wave two, it's just gonna be fantastic. And with the
Yeah,
story ideas they got,
yeah,
so glad
yeah,
they made
and
it.
props to him for not even, I mean, this guy took a risk. This was not a Kickstarter, was not
Nope,
crowdfunded. The
nope.
guy did it all on his own, and he's marketing it like a toy line. So mad props to him for taking that risk. I hope it works out for him. There's a little bit of groundswell on this stuff.
Mhm,
I expect in a month at Joe Fest to really get more feedback from the crowd on these figures. I again, reiterate your sentiment, this is a solid action figure line.
yes.
Um, it has good representation for everybody. Um, you have two females in the mix of 11 essentially characters, which, G.I. Joe only had one, and they only did it for a couple of years, and then it ended. This is, you got good diversity. You got the characters are unique enough, with me not really liking Jaguar as much as you, but but for the most part, though, all the characters are unique. They all have their own story to tell. The troops are good troops, and yeah, I personally I recommend this line for anybody that wants more O-ring in their life, and it is
Oh yeah,
available now.
yeah. I mean, just 3 different troop builders out of the first wave. That's pretty cool.
I think that wraps us up, Casey.
Yeah, I think so.
So, to all the listeners, thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed this, please rate, review, share this. It only helps to grow and improve this podcast. For more of me, you can find me on social media at Chaplain Joe Pod on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. That's where I spend most of my time. And you can email me, chaplainjoepod@gmail.com. And thanks to Spotify for Podcasters for hosting the podcast. And Casey, want to tell them where else they can find you?
Yeah, I do a YouTube show called Podcast from the Pit with a couple friends of mine, Matt and Hillbilly Harper. Mostly we're a G.I. Joe show, but I've been known to slide in some Mo2 or Delta 17 or pretty much anything else that I'm into at the time. I have a lot of rabbit holes. Uh, I really need to just pick one and go with it. But yeah, we have a lot of fun. We're also on Instagram, X or Twitter, wherever you call it. We do a little bit on Facebook. But yeah, if you would check us out, love to have more people watch and comment.
All right. And just close out. The Chaplain System Motorpod is the strange, but not as strange, nerdy little brother of the pint, a pop culture podcast. And with all of that out of the way, one final missile for the masses: be decent to each other. Have a good night.
Trust me, this is the most prepared I've been for any show I've ever done.
Really? Oh, wow.
I normally just talk.